Well, good morning, Wareham. It is Friday, the 13th. What could possibly go wrong? I'll leave that to you. We have a great show here for you, the news headlines, the weather report, and today in history. This morning, we'll be speaking with the South Coast LGBTQ network. They will be talking about the upcoming fashion show called Farash. And also, you will be meeting Gilda, a 95-year-old bartender and the owner of the hottest exclusive club in the area. We'll be airing my exclusive interview with Gilda this morning. And even if that was not enough, prepare to laugh out loud because we have comedian Ed Wong in the studio. But first, I would like to take this moment to thank Not Your Average Antiques, an antique shop down Cranberry Highway in East Wareham, for donating the props that you see in the morning show. So stay tuned because the news headlines and the weather report are next. Okay, South Coast restricts visitation at Toby in light of coronavirus outbreak. According to their recently released guidance, no visitors experiencing any flu-related symptoms will be allowed, nor will visitors who have returned from overseas travel within the past 14 days. Each patient may see only 2 visitors at a time. No visitors under the age of 12 years old are allowed. The hospital will also be restricting non-essential business traveling for employees. Gatherings of 10 or more people at South Coast sites are being canceled, including meetings, classes, and seminars. And Stone Path Malt wants to expand its liquor license by allowing beer sales. Located at 11 Kendrick Road, Stone Path Malt processes malt that is used by 78 brewers to brew beer. Mark St. Jean, co-founder of Stone Path Malt, said that selling cans of beers would benefit his company's work to get people off the highway and into Wareham. Town meeting would first need to approve a petition to the legislature for the licensing change. Town meeting is scheduled for April 27th. And speaking of town meeting, town moderator contemplates on whether to delay town meeting following Governor Charlie Baker's declaration of state of emergency in Massachusetts. Town moderator Claire Smith said that the town should consider whether the town meeting should be delayed, heeding health officials' message to avoid crowds in midst of coronavirus outbreak. Town meeting can be postponed through a phone or by having the moderator and the town clerk meet at appointed time and place for town meeting, open the meeting and move to postpone it to a specified date and time. Town moderator noted that officials should decide whether or not to postpone town meeting far enough in advance of the date that the public could be alerted. Town meeting is still currently scheduled for 7 p.m. on April 27th. Town Administrator Derek Sullivan said that the town is stepping up its cleaning efforts in an attempt to prevent the spread of the virus. The Board of Health and department heads have been meeting to determine how town business could continue if employees were asked to work from home. And public health officials in Plymouth and Norfolk County have met to discuss potential coronavirus outbreak in the area. John Burke, the fire chief of Sandwich, said that the majority of communities have a mass notification system in place to alert residents to a potential incident and that the school notification systems offer a good backup. Residents and travelers to Wareham can sign up for the notification system from Alert Wareham at www.smart 911.com. And Wareham's Director of Emergency Management, Patrick MacDonald, stated that the town is relatively well prepared and that Wareham has some of the best first responders and professionals in the business. And moving on to other news of the day, Wareham residents heard a presentation on cannabis-based topical products. Jean Mackenzie of Beachgrass Topicals held an information session at Wareham Town Hall to discuss her plans to use a facility in East Wareham to manufacture cannabis-based products for medical purposes. The proposed facility will be located at 3103 Cranberry Highway. Mackenzie explained that she would manufacture products in her facility and sell them to local dispensaries. She will not be selling directly to customers. The topical products would be made from CBD and THC extracts and essential oils. They would primarily be used for pain relief. Mackenzie's proposal must first go through the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Board of Selectmen before gaining approval from the town. And officials set groundbreak for an $8 million new fire station in Onset. According to the Onset Fire Chief, Raymond Goodwin, the new facility at Sand Pond Road will offer several advantages to his firefighters. The facility will house all of the department's equipment, have a washing facility to clean protective clothing, as well as a separate living space for firefighters. And Wareham School Department prepares for the impact of coronavirus. Superintendent of Schools Kimberly Sheverhood said that their response will be one of caution. Several events have already been canceled, including International Night, Literacy Night, a high school trip to Europe scheduled for April vacation, and DECA International competition at the Credit for Life event at the high school. School officials have also begun to plan for possible shutdown of all schools if mandated by the state. Google Chromebooks will be used for teaching in case of school close. Sheverhood is looking into accessible Wi-Fi around town, and is also considering sending packets of worksheets and other materials home with students. Making sure that students are well fed is a priority for the schools. If schools close, packaged breakfasts and lunches will be distributed to various locations throughout the town in similar manner to the summer lunch program. Sheverhood has asked parents to be vigilant and keep sick children home from school. Additionally, if families are planning to travel, she asked that they inform their children's schools. And the proposed traffic light on Tahonut Road at Cranberry Highway may be town's responsibility. Planning Director Ken Buckland told the road commissioners that the town could look into getting a grant for help. Board member Joe Cardoza said that while he's very interested in having the light at the intersection, he is very against footing the bill. The traffic light was proposed due to the significant number of accidents at the intersection. And that concludes this morning news headlines. Coming up is the weather forecast. It is gorgeous. By gorgeous, I'm talking about higher 50s and possibly lower 60s today, but rain is among us and winds. We're talking about 20 to 30 miles per hour. High wind gusts are also a possibility Partly cloudy skies overnight. We are looking at 36 degrees for a low. Tomorrow, generally sunny despite a few afternoon clouds, high around 53 degrees. Winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Low overnight at 31 degrees. Mostly sunny on Sunday with high around 43 degrees. Winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly clear skies overnight with low around 26 degrees. And that concludes this morning and this weekend's weather forecast. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to continue with our program. Okay, so recently, earlier this week, I met with the South Coast LGBTQ network. They are located in New Bedford. We were discussing about their network, what they do, and how crucial their programs are to New Bedford and throughout South Coast region. But they were specifically here to promote one of their events coming up, which is a fashion show, and it's called Farash. Take a look. Well, thank you so much for being in the studio today. We are here to talk about the upcoming event. But before we get to the upcoming event, I would like to know you better. So tell us about the organization.
Sure. So we formed about 6 years ago. Different organizations got together because money that we were using for grants was depleting. So somebody suggested that we get together and form some sort of a group. And it's not all LGBTQ included. So it's like the YWCA, Fairhaven Council on Aging, Youth Education in Schools, our youth group, NB Agley, which is New Bedford Alliance of Gay and Lesbian Youth, which I'm also an adult advisor for. We kind of, 8 of us got together and formed this network, and together we kind of help the community, which has been amazing.
Wonderful. And then you came into the picture as a volunteer.
Yes.
All right, tell us about your experience.
Basically, it came up with the concept of doing a fashion show for the youth, and my background is communications, public relations, and fashion. So me being a volunteer at the committee, I'm like, I'll help out. So that's how it really came about. So
Fantastic.
Me working with Tracy, and then I was sort of spearheading it and trying to get all the logistics together and get this thing together.
Proceeds go to the network, which we do programs, resources, and events for the community, and to raise awareness of what LGBTQ kids face daily.
Right.
So may we talk about what they face?
Most definitely. 95% of LGBTQ youth have a hard time sleeping at night. I actually have some statistics I'd love to kind of go over with you guys. More than 70% of LGBTQ youth report feeling worthlessness and helplessness. 33% of the youth report having been bullied on school property, and 21.1% cyberbullied. 78 to 86% of these students experience verbal harassment in their schools because of sexual orientation or gender identity. Nearly 25% of LGBTQ students report being physically attacked in school. 33% transgender youth report being verbally harassed by teachers or staff. Out of those 30%, 5% reported being physically assaulted by those adults, and 3% reported being sexually assaulted. Self-harm is really big in our community right now. Ages 12 to 24, more prominent in girls, ages 12 to 15. Self-harm is cutting, embedding foreign objects in their skin, burning, alcohol abuse. So we kind of have kids in our community that we see that have the cuts and whatnot. That's that's one of the reasons that I'm an adult advisor at NB Agley, to help kids ages 14 to 24. And we meet every Thursday from 5 to 7 to help kids deal with the problems, the issues. I mean, could you imagine going to school every day and being bullied and worried about harassment from your teachers, using the locker room, the restroom? You know, there's just so many kids that are having so many problems that we said, you know what? When the opportunity came about, and I said, we're having a fashion show to let people know what's going on with the kids and homelessness. 1 in 30 kids ages 13 to 17 experienced homelessness at some point in the previous year. It's just amazing what our kids go through and the resiliency that they have. And they're just looking for that person to say, you know what, I'm here for you. And we say that we see you and we hear you. We want these kids to be their authentic self. So some of the kids are wearing their own clothes. We have one transgender lesbian that's going to hear her name that she chose for herself. Her birth name, which is now called a dead name, is not going to be pronounced. So when her name is said on stage, it's going to be for the first time she's hearing it in public.
First off, it is on Saturday the 14th in Fairhaven at the Seaport Marina. And really, what it is it's for the youth and the kids to come out and be themselves for the first time, in a sense, and be able to walk down that runway. And I don't know if you've ever walked down a runway. I have. So you get that feeling of like, okay, I'm going to kick butt or whatever. And you have that such confidence. And to really create that like comfort zone of an environment of here are your peers and here are some older people and here are just some people from the community that are here to support you with. It's a great step to come out and say, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm bisexual, I'm transgender. And to have that support nowadays is really, really amazing. So we really want to encompass that like fun, festive, like, you know, let them walk in the clothing that they feel comfortable in. If not, we do have actually, I think we're getting some clothing from UMass Dartmouth, their design department, which will be really nice. So they'll get some school credit on that also. And, you know, we have Gloria and Company doing hair and makeup for the kids, which is a massive help for us.
Feroce is going to be amazing. We only have like another week and a half. We have swag bags for our VIP tables. We have
a silent auction table,
Please.
which is going to be some really good items. We have some most scooter rentals from P Town. We also have some incredible gift baskets from Ronan and Fields, the skin products, which is going to be really, really nice. And we have some gift certificates to some key restaurants like Cask and Pig in Dartmouth. We have Not Your Average Joe is going to be participating. And just a really nice dinner for two, sushi, any type of dinner you want, and then a sushi lesson for 4 people, which is going to be put on by this really great guy who opened up a new restaurant in New Bedford called Cafe Bon. So that's going to be, you know, in addition to other items that we have still coming in, because again, it is next week. But how benefits are, you know, they always wait to the last minute. So we're still like gathering some items for the auction items. You know, it's either going to be incredible or it's going to be incredible. So it's like, you know, we're looking for either way. It's going to go either way. It's going to be good.
So we kind of changed the runway. When you normally see a normal runway, you see the models come up to the stage and they walk to the end, they do the little loop and they go back. Well, because our kids have so many closet doors, they have to break down so many barriers, our kids are going to come up, walk the runway, and there's actually a set of stairs and they're walking right out the front door. So they're going to walk right through the audience and right out the front door because there's no barriers for these kids on this particular runway show. We just said, you know what, let's go big or go home and let's let this night be for the kids in our community.
So you did mention some statistics, and I figured that those are nationwide statistics.
Yeah.
Could you bring it back here at home, at our region? What are our youth facing?
So a lot of it's homelessness. We don't have the statistics for like the New Bedford area, but I know for our kids it's self-harm and homelessness and nutrition. So we try and make sure that we have snacks and things for the kids on our night. One great thing that hopefully we'll find out that there's a UU church in New Bedford. There's a property across the street. It's the old Sister Rose house. We actually put a bid in it for the network that within 2 years it'll be remodeled and set. It'll actually have our own LGBTQ community center, which is amazing. That we'll be able to kind of figure out, you know, what the actual needs are for everybody in our community, LGBTQ. But right now our priority is youth and seniors in our community. Believe it or not, as you get older, and you have to go into assisted living, you have to de-gay. you can't say you're married to a man if you're a man. You can't say you're married to a woman if you're a woman. The same thing happened to our youth. You're not getting the right medication needs, the housing, medical, food, all that. Same thing happens again as you're a senior. People still are bigotry. The bigotry is just amazing. But our youth have a hard time. 50% of youth come out to their parents, and it's a negative response. So we actually have reached out to the Trevor Group, Trevor Project, and we'll have books, coming out books, that we say to our kids, you have to have a plan. You can't just assume that mom and dad are going to be okay. I feel that once the older generation passes away, that some of the ethnicity that we have in New Bedford is large, Cape Verdean, Hispanic, whatever it happens to be, that they're just so old school that you can't come out, because if you do, you're going to get kicked out immediately. So we kind of tell our kids now, have that bag ready. We have kids that are couch surfing. We have kids that come in, I don't want to say just for the food, but we do. Our NB Agley, we actually have quarterly dances. We've had 31 kids at the last couple dances. We had a Valentine's dance, and we had our Halloween dance, so we're trying to get kids to kind of say, you know what, we're here, what other things we like to do. Trips to P-Town, just to kind of get kids involved and in community. Our NB Agley, our kids named it A Perfect Place, because they said, Tracy, when we walk through those doors, this is our home, this is our family, and I'm perfect.
Okay.
You know.
Well, so the event, remind us about the dates again.
It is March 14th from 6 to 9, and it's in Fairhaven at the Seaport Marina, which is right off of Huddleston Way.
110 Huddleston?
It's 110 Huddleston, I think. And it's in the Grand Ballroom.
Okay, and you're looking for more models.
We're looking for more
couple
youth models, a
more.
couple more, maybe
Yeah.
30, 40. No.
Yeah, no kidding. We were hoping for 30, but again, I mean, some of the kids are having a hard time. Like, they don't want to be
Right.
in the public eye. They want to be, because again, they're worried about what's going to happen, you know? So we're trying to get the kids that have the support from mom and dad or foster parents. I'm a foster parent as well. That these kids feel safe enough to be able to do that.
Right.
We had to sign releases for the kids because we may, do stills of their videos. I asked all the kids to do like a 1 or 2 minute video of why you want to be in Feroce, what it means to you to rock the runway. So some of the kids were like, one of them in particular, I don't want my dad to hear my pronoun, because that's a hard thing for these kids.
Well, thanks to both of you for coming in the studio to bring some awareness about what the network is and the great work that it does, and of course the upcoming event. I do welcome you back
Thank
next
you.
time, so we can pick an area and digest it even further. Today we had plenty of information,
Right.
but just like, about the network, but I would love to, we can select different topics about the LGBTQ community,
Great.
and what is needed and how the entire community as a whole can support the network.
I appreciate it, Queen, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you
both of
so
you.
much.
Welcome back. It is not the coffee segment, but we have a live guest in the studio, Ed. I did say Ed Wong. Apparently, I'm completely wrong. It's Ed Wa. All those letters that accompany his last name are pretty much useless, so-called silent letters. If they're silent, what business do they have? Nothing.
It's funny too, because you're from the Caribbean, right?
Yes.
So I was listening to this one comedian the other day, and he's actually from Finland, and he was talking about the difficulties with American language and like all the silent letters, because in other languages you don't really have those silent letters.
There is no silent. Actually, not necessarily Caribbean. No, Tanzania is not, right? No, not necessarily Caribbean, East Africa. But I'm talking about in our language, we don't have silent letters. And we have letters that are way obnoxious and louder than others. Like in just a name, there are letters that are like screaming at you.
Well, it's like Icelandic, there's letters that are literally like snort noises, like, But like this guy from Finland, it was saying like, it was funny because he's a comedian. He was saying like, it's like, so like you guys do all these silent letters in this country, so I decided to start doing silent numbers. Like, I owe you $45,000. But the 4 is silent.
The 4 is silent. I would love that. That would make the whole difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in everybody's life.
Cure the economy right
Absolutely, yeah. College debt. Absolutely. So, my friend, you are a full-time, you work as a janitor.
Yeah.
What school?
Monomoy High School.
Monomoy High School. You work there as full-time, but you also have this other side of you. You're a comedian, also a professional full-time to some extent.
Yeah, I
comedian.
mean, I do rely on doing stand-up comedy for some dependable income.
Yeah,
so,
dependable income.
Yeah.
And we were talking, I mean, you are performing tonight.
Yep.
There's a show tonight. And I had one of the performers earlier last week, and
Yeah, Tom Stewart.
Tom Stewart
I'm
was
sorry.
here.
No,
No, it's okay. Tom Stewart was here to get to know about Tom Stewart. Also, he's performing tonight.
And he's a local boy too. He was originally from this area.
Yeah. So, okay, before we dive into the rest of what we have, let's talk about tonight's show.
Yep, tonight's show we actually are over at the Wareham Elks Club. It's going to be starting at 8 o'clock tonight. We have Frank Santorelli headlining, and he's from the TV show Sopranos. He played as Georgie, the bartender at Bada Bing. Dude is absolutely hilarious. He's a longtime Boston comic. He's been doing it probably 30 plus years. And some of the most well-crafted material I've ever worked with. I'm excited to bring him here to town for some much-needed laughs in this area.
Yes. And it is very crucial that event like yours to bring laughter, to take us out of the seriousness of what we're experiencing right now.
Oh, absolutely.
All the news today, all my news stories were related to coronavirus outbreak measures the town are taking. Now there are so many events getting canceled.
Absolutely.
Just being in your position, how is it like?
I mean, like yesterday, it's been the worst 24 hours as a performer I've ever had to deal with. I lost like 5, and I'm definitely going to lose probably a couple more gigs up in the future. I had one gig they canceled in May that's coming up out of fears because they don't know what's going on. It stinks as a performer too, because right now it's just in the fear stage. Not to say it's well-founded, not to say that it's not well-founded, but right now it's on paper. It's just all I'm seeing is just lost gig, and not even as a performer. It just stinks for a lot of local businesses. Like I know people in the restaurant industries are taking a massive hit right now. Like as far as people just afraid to go out right now, just because what they're reading. It's tough all the way around. I mean,
It is.
And then you got. I mean, it's hard for me to complain because then I also see, people that were planning to retire this coming year, and they're just taking a hit in the last week, and they realize they have to work 2 more years, 3 more years, and they weren't planning on to.
Absolutely. And so we were talking because I was listening to NPR, and they're talking about cautious measures. Don't be among crowds, okay, canceling events, urging people to work from home. But what you do, you rely on crowds, you rely to be out there. And so when you listen to this, what do you think?
No, I mean, I can understand it. You know what I'm saying? Like tonight we're capping our crowd capita less than what we would do before,
Yeah.
We might be operating at a loss tonight, and if that's the case that we have to do, because we don't want to cancel our comedians that we already have booked, because they have a steady source of income that they're depending on, and we've all taken a massive hit in this past 48 hours, and it's just been in the 48 hours that we've had all these cancellations.
Yeah.
And I'm not in the position to be able to do that. I'm going to take every precaution possible. We got the Board of Health that already gave us the okay to have the show. I'm be doing as much as I can too. Like I said, I'm a full-time janitor anyway. Right after the show, I'm going into that room, and I know they do a great job cleaning the place, but I'm still going to be disinfecting every square inch of the place too.
Absolutely. So actually working as a janitor in school, your position is one of those positions you feel you're going to be suspended for a bit?
I mean, I will be still working in the school
Okay.
nonetheless, because I'll be disinfecting inside that place when the building gets closed. I mean, there's a lot of teachers. They're gonna. It's easy to say that they're gonna have it easy working at home if they do classes from home. But that's not true, because you still have a learning curve that you have to do, because we're dealing with a situation that's never been dealt with before. So, I mean, everybody in every which way is being affected somehow. I'm sure you're being affected some way that you weren't anticipating.
Absolutely. I think when you're talking about events canceled, I was planning something for later on this month, and we had to cancel that particular event as well. But I'm not facing the brunt of it as others would. As you said, the worst 24 hours of your career, just experience. And I think the worst of it is not knowing when this will end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mentioned this to you earlier. Is it too early to make fun of coronavirus?
The too soon argument is a hard argument to have because it all depends on the joke. I'm of the mindset that you can joke about anything as long as you can back it up with writing.
Okay.
As long as your writing is good enough. Like, for instance, like Dave Chappelle can get away with saying a lot more than a lot of people can just because his joke writing is that good where he can get away with saying it. But it's all about reading your audience.
Okay.
You know, obviously I can't go into performing at a retirement home and then dropping coronavirus jokes. That's not a good idea, you know? But if it's a bar full of 20-something-year-olds that don't know better, yeah, you can definitely get away with it too. So, I mean, it depends on your writing and depends on the situation and your audience.
Do you feel that you had to change up your jokes in this past couple weeks in light of all this hysteria?
Oh no, I will still say.
No.
I will still say whatever comes to my mind out of my mouth too.
Yeah.
So, for the better or worse, even if it gets me in trouble.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but no, luckily, I've had some great crowds recently. I mean, even like I have been performing in front of older crowds recently, and I'm still doing coronavirus jokes. I mean, when people come to a comedy show, luckily they're coming there to laugh. You know,
To
so.
distress.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So-
it's all laughter and jokes and it's nothing serious.
Yeah, and you know what? Once people come to a comedy show and they realize how miserable, how sad we are, we all know the term "misery loves company." You know, so
Yes.
people will be having fun nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. So the event is tonight, and it's not like you guys didn't want to cancel it. It's just the Board of Health did give you the permission to go ahead. So.
The venue, they gave the venue. I have
The
not
venue,
talked.
okay.
Yeah, the venue has been in contact with them and everything
Okay.
because we're keeping track of it. You know, because I mean, we'll do whatever the state says.
Yeah.
At the same time, we want to make sure that we're not making anybody. I mean, like I said, there's a good chance I'm probably operating at a loss tonight. You know, and if that's the case, that's what I'll do. You know.
Are you thinking of doing comedy online, like? Going...
No way, no way. I'm not gonna do live stream things on people's Google iPads. Doing crowd work like that.
Wow. And then people donate, or you charge them to watch.
I'm sure that'll go so well. So how are you guys doing today? Click yes if you're doing good.
Well, you see those buttons of people, thumbs up, loves, and comments, and so
Facebook
forth.
Lives and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, one of my favorite things to do is people don't realize that their Facebook Lives are public. So you can honestly go through Facebook Live and just crawl into anybody's live stream, and I'll just jump in and have a conversation with them too. Just like people are like, "How are you on my live?" I'm like, "How are you on my live?"
It's crazy. I found
It's a
those
different.
things.
It's a different.
It's all different monster.
Yeah.
All right. So, you mentioned earlier. You said about your friend who works as a waitress, and she only made $1.
Yeah. I have a friend that works she works at a restaurant that's also a bowling alley. Both places are getting devastated by this fear. You know, people afraid to touch what other people have, and she made $1 in tips.
Where is it? Boston?
I don't want to share the
Yeah,
name
yeah,
of the place because I don't want the place taking any more of a hit because
Yeah.
obviously it's awful right now. So I feel so bad for these people that just everybody that. Because I know I've been hit financially too, but I still have a steady full-time job on top of it, and it's very humbling. And I'm less scared about the coronavirus than I am scared for people financially affected by the fear of coronavirus. You know, I'll be more fearful of the coronavirus once I see more impact in my direct vicinity. But in my direct vicinity, I'm just seeing people get decimated in just some way financially. You know, so.
Yeah.
And like I said, even if I have to operate at a loss tonight, as long as we get the okay from everybody, we still have people coming out. The show must go on.
The show must go on.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. It's like almost overnight kind of thing. Even Wareham is talking about. It's one thing to listen and hear other school districts and other places, other cities talking about closing school, but it's another thing to actually see that there might be a possibility, and here there might be a possibility right here in Wareham, and what to do with it. I'm totally. I can't say I feel your pain. I am not in your position.
Yeah, and
But
if you want to feel my pain, come out to Wareham Comedy Night tonight at Friday, 8 p.m. Frank Santarelli headlining, and I will be probably miserable on stage, and we're going to have fun with it, though. We're going to be fun.
how many comedians are going to be there in total?
We have me. We have AJ Halfpenny, who's been a constant guest on this show.
Yeah.
We have Jesslyn Peters, who's another Cape Cod comic. Alan Fitzgerald, who I feel is,
Why, that name sounds familiar.
I think he might have been booked as a guest here before.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's been in here before. He might have, but he is one of the funniest human beings I've ever met in my life. And he's going to go places from here. Then we have Tom Stewart. Yeah, that's what Tom Stewart deserves. No, I'm joking. Tom's great. And then we also have, of course, Frank Santarelli headlining.
Yes,
so there's a lot of people relying on people coming out to the show and not being living in fear, staying at home. And you know, I know there's a difference between fear and caution, and I am not going to guilt anybody for not showing up. But if you're feeling risky, feeling frisky, come out, come have some laughs tonight. That's all I'm saying. So.
Fantastic. Well, it's too bad you guys are not going to do this show online so we can comment. And that's really too bad because I'll be one of those just watching.
Yeah.
Yes. But, you know, I thank you so much for being here, and I'm truly sorry for what you are going through and others are going through in midst of all this hysteria surrounding the disease. And I hope that things will simmer down in months to come.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. And you guys are going to come back with a big comeback.
Yep.
And all this will be so hilarious.
Oh, I'll come back. I'll be more cheerful in the next podcast or the next episode, next webinar, whatever we're doing here. I don't know. We're having, I don't know. We got lights going on.
We got lights going on.
I think I have a show tonight at 8 p.m. Wareham Elks Club.
You do have a show tonight. So once again, this was Ed Wah, who is going to be one of the comedians performing tonight at the New Bedford / Wareham Elks Club. And yes, hopefully you can be there. And if not, totally understandable.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to continue with more. Okay, so that was Ed War here to make us laugh and talk about his event tonight. And speaking of pure joy and laughter, I am so happy to introduce you a woman by the name of Gilda. Well, that's all she needs. She's like Oprah or Beyonce or who other have just one, a queen, you know, just one name and it's done. So this is Gilda. Gilda, she's 95 years old. She is a bartender and also the owner of the hottest exclusive club in the area called Gilda's. Once again, just one word anyhow. Gilda's Stone Rooster. Yeah, okay, then maybe those are three. So take a look. At 27 Wareham Road, right at the border between the town of Wareham and Marion, is Gilda's Stone Rooster, also the home to the oldest bartender in the area. You're about to turn 95.
Oh, no, no, no,
No, no, no.
no. 96.
96 this May.
You got it, kid.
Gilda was born and raised in New Bedford. She ended up in Wareham after answering an ad in the newspaper for a bartender position. That was in 1979.
So I came down here and worked. Finally, the gentleman asked me if how would I like to buy the place. I talked to my husband, and he said, well, go talk to your father.
Why did you have to speak to your father?
Because he had the money.
Oh my God. And just like that, Gilda, her late husband Paul, and her daughter Tony operated the business, taking turns in cooking and bartending.
And this is it.
Well, it's not so simple. By this is it, you are underselling the place. This place on Mondays, it is the stage of some of the renowned artists, musicians. You'd have to go to New York City, pay a lot of money to hear this,
Yes.
sound, and you provide it right here.
I was very lucky. Bob from the Symphony Shop came to me one day after my husband passed away, which took me quite a while. And he says, I've got a band. And I said, okay, I'll take a chance. And thank God for that band because it got me going. Now I have a great team of musicians. I have the older group and then I have the younger group. I'm trying to promote the younger group. They need a chance. It's difficult for them to find a place where they can play.
With the new momentum, Gilda was able to bring back great live music to the place. This little diamond in the rough is the stage to great musicians like the South Coast Jazz Orchestra, the Soul Funk Jazz Blues, the Groovalatos, and the South Coast Brass Band. Gilda's passion for music goes way back.
Well, let's put it this way. It started out when I used to like to go to dance halls. And that's where you hear the good music. Lincoln Park had great bands. I would go there. And the music just got to me.
So how do you feel when you see this place completely full, the stage is live, when you get to share your love with your community?
Feels good. I'm kind of low-key a little bit.
Are you really? Nothing about you screams low-key.
Oh, sure it is. Come on, look.
Gilda is working on her memoir. Reflecting back, she is very pleased with her journey so far.
It was unbelievable. While I'm writing, I said, I had it made.
It was that good.
Yeah, yeah, I swear. Yep, it was good. My father was a cobbler, so no worries about shoes. He made shoes or what. And my mother worked in the mill. We always had food on the table. The kids, we all had a ball growing up, not like today. You get up in the morning, well, what are we gonna do? Jump rope, tennis, we played all those little things.
Just a couple of months shy from her 96th birthday, nothing can stop her. She celebrates 26 years of being cancer-free. Her best advice is to never dwell on things and keep on moving.
Well, the way I feel, we're here today. So come on, let's get it together. Enjoy it. Don't dwell on last week, last night. Whatever happened then, forget it. You got to keep on going. You never give up. You're just going to fight for whatever you want.
It is 2020, but here at Gilda's, it is 1979 uninterrupted. The cozy of the building is nostalgic, so add that to your list. That next time while you're in town, check out what's playing at Gilda's Stone Rooster. Hello, and thank you for being with us this morning. We are broadcasting live from our WCTV studio in Wareham. This is Good Morning Wareham, your source for local news, weather, and more information. And now for a moment in history, let's take a look at where we were today in history. Okay. All right. On this day in science history, astronomer by the name of William Herschel discovered Uranus in 1781. The brilliant light blue planet is the seventh one from the sun in our solar system. It is a gas giant and is in between Saturn and the sixth planet. Oh, sorry, Saturn, the sixth planet, and Neptune, the eighth planet. It is unique. This planet is unique because of the axis on which it rotates is at 98 degrees, meaning that it is basically spinning on its side. It got its name from a Greek god by the name of the sky. On this day in Army history, the United States began its K-9 Corps in 1942. Over 1 million dogs had been used in World War I as message carriers and companions for the soldiers. By World War II, the United States decided to train dogs for many different jobs like mine detecting, patrolling, and scouting. Dogs were an essential part of war efforts in the early 1900s. And also on this day in serial killer history, as Noah would love to add this serial killer history, the murderer John Wayne Gacy received the death sentence in 1980, known by his alter ego Pogo the Clown. Gacy was a friendly figure in his home state of Illinois. Despite a friendly demeanor, however, John killed a total of 33 people throughout the 1970s until he was finally caught and arrested in 1978. Gacy stayed on death row for over a decade until he was killed by lethal injection in 1994. For today's birthday, we have a space-related birthday. Percy Lowell from Boston, Massachusetts, was born today in 1855. He was an astronomer who first detected that Pluto existed, leading to research and discovery of the dwarf planet in 1930s. And happy birthday to everybody else celebrating their big day today. This concludes this morning history segment. To learn more cool historical facts, you can go online under history.com. We were supposed to play Finding You Sanctuary video, but because we're running out of time, we have to substitute to something that we have done before. Bear with us. We are going to take a look at the Buttonwood Park Zoo. Zoos have come a long way since 1874, when the first public zoological park in Philadelphia debuted in the country. During their nascent days, zoos were a place where animals lived in captivity and are put on display for people to view. The perception has long changed. Nowadays, zoos across the country are a safe haven for endangered species.
When you're choosing species to the zoo, it's no longer what is the most popular. It's really focused on what species need the most work. And when I say that, it means what species really need the work from a conservation standpoint. Species that are threatened, species that are endangered, that really need to be at zoos, a part of captive breeding programs to help these species from going extinct.
Buttonwood Park Zoo's Animal Hospital assures the well-being and population of these species. So in case you're wondering, why is it important to assure the survival of species apart from yours?
And you do get that question a lot. What do I care? Why would I need to change my habits? Well, everything's an ecosystem. Everything is connected. So you can say, oh, well, I don't need red panda. Well, that impacts so many things. Not only the other animals in its environment, the plants in its environment, seed dispersal. There's a lot of things. The entire plant here is interconnected. And when you start losing these major species in these ecosystems, it has far-reaching impact. We can see in our own backyard. Best example I can give you. We have all kinds of problems with Lyme disease on the South Coast. Well, that's because our deer populations is so high. Why is our deer population so high? The natural predators, the cougars, the wolves, they don't exist anymore. The only thing that's out there is the coyote. Well, the coyote doesn't eat the mice to spread the ticks to the deer. There's a whole ecosystem. So how does it affect me? Well, you worried about Lyme disease? Well, that's one of the reasons, is because species have gone extinct, even in our backyard.
Do we always draw such a straight line?
It's never a straight line. And one of the difficult things from a biological standpoint and from an evolutionary standpoint is oftentimes the impact are not immediately known. It doesn't happen overnight. There are some species that go extinct and it's immediately felt in the ecosystem. Many of them have long-term implications.
My first visit to Buttonwood Park Zoo in New Bedford cemented that thought. The Buttonwood Park Zoo is one of the oldest urban and suburban zoos in the country. It first opened its doors in 1894 and are currently celebrating 125 years of conservation commitment to more than 50 endangered and threatened species. Walking around the zoo, it is hard to believe its age, all thanks to the cosmetic surgery back in 1996.
Yeah, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the zoo closed for a complete remodel. There was, it was showing its age back then. So the entire zoo was done over, and that's about 20 years ago now. So yes, it was definitely a bright and shiny new zoo and an old footprint. And right now we're actually working on a master plan. It's been about 20 years since the zoo reopened, and we're working on updating everything at this point as well.
A component of the master plan was the expansion of Emily and Ruth Habitat, the two oldest residents in the zoo, in addition to opening Forest, Rivers, and Reef Reservation in 2017.
One great thing about the Rainforest Rivers and Reefs building is that we created mixed habitats, particularly on the Amazon side of the building. And what that basically means is that we don't have a singular species in one exhibit. We have a variety of different species living together, and that can be everything from small monkeys to tropical birds like parrots. We have lizard species, and we even have tons of fish species down below. Now, from an animal perspective, there's a lot of stimulation going on. There's all kinds of different animals. They need to learn how to cohabitate with all these different animals, and it creates not only a rewarding environment for the animals, it also creates a rewarding experience for the visitors that are coming to the zoo.
So part of our master plan is to redesign our barn area into the Nature Connection Education Center. So the barn itself is being retrofitted into 4 new classroom spaces, as well as a brand new animal ambassador facility where we'll be able to have our animal ambassadors get up close and personal with our visitors on a more regular basis than they are now.
Working with Nature Explorer, Charlie's Nature Play and Outdoor Nature Playground opened last July. The zoo also runs classes and public programs to help people best understand nature and the world around them.
So this is called Science on a Sphere. This is a tool that was developed by NOAA to be a way to visualize kind of global data. So what we're looking at right now is an actual satellite image taken from space of Earth. And what we're able to do with this is really do lessons. We do a ton of school programming and some public programming on things like weather, space, and really anything in between. So we have, let's see, right now we're looking at over 660 different data sets that we can put up on the sphere. Everything from the age of the seafloor, which is what is up there now, to, let's pick some other fun things that we can see. Bird migration patterns. So truly we can do a lot of really neat things with the sphere. So right here you can see they've put 2 data sets on top of each other. One is air temperature and the other one is bird populations. So you can see how bird populations may or may not move with the change in temperatures and seasons.
Now, for those who would say to you, wild animals do not belong in the zoo, what do you say?
I agree. I get this question all the time. Why? I need to qualify that, don't I? I get this question all the time. I'm a zoo director. I've been working in zoos for about 30 years now, and I wish there wasn't a need for zoos. I really wish that we could all just enjoy animals out in the wild, but that's not reality. Reality is species are becoming threatened, endangered, and going extinct at record levels. There are species that are at the Buttonwood Park Zoo and other zoos around the country that barely exist in the wild or are extinct in the wild. And the only chance for these species ever to survive or to ever be reintroduced back into the wild is the captive breeding programs of accredited zoos. So in a perfect world, you wouldn't need to have zoos. We have such lush wildlife interacting with humans. That's not the world we live in. The world we live in is that wildlife's under constant threat, and zoos are at the forefront of saving these species, from captive breeding programs for reintroduction and also for conservation in the field as well.
So whether you're in for the exotic experience and look at the beautiful pandas to the majestic elephants, or you're interested in seeing the faces of your occasional neighbors, Buttonwood Park Zoo may just be the answer. I thank you for joining us this morning for Good Morning Wareham show, and I apologize for any chuckles or any mistakes we might have made. Anyhow, we will be back on a Monday with a fantastic show. I'll bring you a great guest. Not sure who yet, but it's going to be a great guest. If you missed us this morning, the show will air this evening at 6 p.m. We'll also go on our YouTube channel at Wareham Community Television on YouTube. Thank you so much, Wareham, and have a pleasant weekend. Bye.